So, welcome everyone.
Today we will be talking about our main topic that we have been talking about, insulin resistance. And couple of sessions that we had so far, we talked about what is insulin resistance. We talked about uh, definition-wise, how spiritually, the spiritual meaning of insulin resistance, scientifically, biologically, we saw what changes happens in our body, in our functioning of the cell that creates that situation. So now the question is, what can we do about it? Ins Insulin is one thing which is certainly, you know, linked with it, because insulin resistance means directly, the name suggests. As we talked about, that insulin represent authority, sweetness in life, and we feel that, okay, I'm only receiving like torture or the authorities, because insulin also represent authority, so cannot resist. And one of the key thing in diabetic patient is to accept and love oneself, so himself, herself. Like if there is anything that is uh, the story inside you about you, if there is negativity, if there is some kind of, you know, an element that you don't like and you are criticizing yourself, so that becomes one part that has to be improved. And it has to be unconditional. Very critical thing, which is in general, but here it's also very important, is you are not responsible for others' happiness. Work on yourself. Don't think, oh, your parents, they are aged, or your kids, whether they are in university or otherwise, your other family members. You are only responsible for your happiness. Now, when we say insulin resistance, of course, we talk about, the diabetic condition, because it comes as a pre-diabetic. And pre-diabetic means we go by numbers. And then depending on which region, they may be measured differently. But in North America, and then very common, people will say whether you are above or below 7, or you are close to 7, or you are around 6, below 6, just to see whether you are normal, pre-diabetic, or diabetic. Now, what are these numbers? Before we talk about what can we do about it, we have to talk about these numbers. So before we talk about the diabetic number, let's see one more example, which is very common, blood pressure. So, Joint National Commission in 1977, they had the range 160 by 100 as the blood pressure level, beyond which they suggested drug intervention. That means you should have some allopathic medicine if it is more than 160 by 100. What happened in 1993? It was lowered to 140/90. So from 160/100, they dropped it to 140/90 from 1977 to 1993. And then what happened subsequently? It is 80/120. So is a number which is, if you ask anyone, what is the ideal blood pressure? They will say, oh, 80/120. That is in our mind. So the moment anybody goes above, we start worrying. And yes, 90/140 is the number that people say, okay, More than that, you should think about some medical help. By dropping this 20 from 160 to 140 or 100 to 90, what happens? Not many people will end up taking medicine just because this standard is lowered from 160 to 140. Of course, more people taking medicine may be good for pharma industry, but every medicine has side effect. That becomes a problem. Sometimes more than the problem you are trying to solve, the side effect may hurt you. So you see, of course, it was not one person, but just by dropping the number, all of a sudden, millions of people in the world, they became high blood pressure kind of range. They came in that range or low blood pressure, depending on where you are. And all of a sudden you say, okay, now I need medication. So same thing happens, when we are talking about a diabetic condition. There is a number, and then people go by that number. Now we talked about type 1 diabetic condition, type 2 diabetic condition, but there are many factors. One, we talked about that there is another term now used, type 3 diabetic condition, which is for Alzheimer and dementia. Why? Because they say they are linked to this only. That means if you control, if you manage your blood sugar, your whole mechanism, if you don't have insulin resistance, you can avoid Alzheimer and dementia. One very big thing to note here is you are checking blood sugar level. Blood sugar level up and down will tell you your number, but what is insulin resistance? Means the amount of insulin in your blood, which you are not capturing here. So what happens? The pre-diabetic condition, you may not be able to catch, because one very good factor to really know is what is the insulin level. Because the body is producing insulin. Body cannot use insulin because you are insulin resistant. So if insulin level is going up, 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 and up, you may think that my sugar is okay, but why insulin is so much increasing in your body, in your blood? Because you are insulin resistant. If you fix that, you can avoid diabetic condition totally, and you can avoid many other diseases which comes along with it. Now, other than these two, what are the other things? If we refer to, the Diabetic Research Institute in Germany, there was a Diabetic Care, volume 15 in 1991. And what was published there? There are different terms used for a condition which is neither type 1 nor type 2. In general, people think, oh, type 1 is not curable. Type 2, mostly people will say, well, it's genetic. What can I do? My family has this history. There is another condition, sometimes it's called atypical diabetic, ketosis prone type 2 diabetic, idiopathic diabetic condition, or flatbush diabetic. These condition, or this is referring to another situation which is in between 1 and 2. It's not fully type 1, it's not fully type 2. So it's kind of, sometimes people refer to 1.5. But now we have seen with lifestyle changes, people are able to reverse type 1 also. Type 2, absolutely. And anything that comes as type 3 or this 1.5 in between, you can only say when you can fix type 1 and type 2, why not anything in between? Of course, type 1 is little more time taking, more you have to work on it. And that's why, again, we go back to, basic root cause of any illnesses as per Ayurveda. First, your thoughts, second, your lifestyle. And both of these can help in all these different types. And not just this, there was another study which was in UK, prospective diabetic studies number 7, because there were many. So this number 7, which we are referring here, demonstrated more than 50%. 50% out of what? Roughly 2,600 people who were diagnosed or who were researched, who were studied in this study number 7, that they were able to reverse by diet alone. So they observe the impact of dieting. People were thinking that, oh, if you are obese, this will happen, that will happen. And in this study, they could see that, okay, it is independent of whether you're obese or not. Controlling your diet, they were able to reverse. So even in the science world, research world, it's been already seen, proven, published. It's nothing new, but still not, so much. Why? Because obviously here you are talking about just by changing your diet, your thoughts, you can get cured, because allopathy only suppresses. It will never fix your diabetes. You know, and we'll talk about diet, because diet, there is a lot of things that goes or that may go wrong. And what, again, are some of the things that really can make the difference? What are the proof, again, scientifically or otherwise? So we talked about spiritual reason. Now, spiritual reason means your thoughts, right? Person thinking that, whether it is related to some authority, whether it is related to love for yourself, whether it is related to that I don't deserve the sweetness in life, whatever the kind of mindset or, thoughts going in your own body, meditation, pranayam, yoga, combination, whatever you are doing will help you in that. So that part is given. When we work using any of these tools, you do meditation regularly, or whether you do pranayam or combination, you are working on your own thought process, like we have seen the benefits of meditation. And hence you are able to change who you are in terms of your thinking. Next, which is lifestyle. What are the things which is hurting us? Two major categories when you want to reverse this on your own. First is your diet. The second is what we say, live with the nature or circadian rhythm. Our lifestyle has become such that we are not living as per the circadian rhythm. People are sleeping late, waking up late. So when the time is to, get up, being active, early morning before sunrise, if you can do your meditation, sadhana, people are still sleeping. Circadian rhythm tells you when the energy it goes to different system of the body. When the time is for liver to detox, if that is the time you're going to sleep, then whatever is happening before that, you are missing it out. Because when the time comes for liver, energy is trying to go to liver. Well, you just slept. That means energy will not go. You're delaying. Body goes by the circadian rhythm. Sun does not change as per your habits or your routine, your schedule. So 2 a.m. is 2 a.m. for the nature. For you, you may be sleeping at 2, but nature says sunset, I expect you to sleep. So if you don't sleep at 10 and you are sleeping at 2 or 1 in the morning, so what's happening? You are delaying everything, pushing it by 3 hours. So when the time comes, you're not there. Imagine, you are flying to a different city. Your flight is at 9 o'clock, but you reach the airport at 12 noon, Rather than 9 a.m., you reach 12 noon, you think flight will wait? No, flight will go. You will miss the flight. Same thing happens in our body. The energy goes to liver, but you are not ready because you slept 3 hours late. Liver is not able to do its function. Kidney is not able to do its function. Pancreas is not able to do its function. So what's happened? Inside you is chaos. And that is the main impact of when we don't follow the circadian rhythm. Along with it, what is the biggest thing? We are not living in the nature. We are not outdoors. Panchbhutas, no fresh air, no exposed under, the sky. Direct sunlight is not reaching us. We are not so much in touch with water naturally. That's why we say go to the river, lake, sea, wherever you are, beaches, and, be in touch with water. And that is so good because when you are, say, if you walk bare feet, you are in touch with water, you are in touch with earth element, you are in touch with air element, you are under the sun. Coming to the diet side, what happens? We are mostly eating processed foods nowadays. And what happens in a processed food? There are different chemicals in order to preserve the food, to increase the shelf life. One particular one is DLS, it's like dioxin-like substance. And this dioxin-like substance, what it is doing, it is suppressing. And there are many. This is just one, the what we call the pollutant and all those things, chemical, they are on top of it. It is suppressing the condition where the body can function normally. There are different reactions. In this case, AGE, which is advanced glycosylation and product. And what it does is, in long story short, your body cannot function normally anymore. The need for different medicine and all because our body is not functioning normally. Then we go for allopathy. That creates more side effects. So there was a Nobel Prize in 1988, which is related to nitric oxide. And this 1988 Nobel Prize was given, in the field of medicine. And it was a group of 3 scientists. And because they brought out this impact of nitric oxide, NO, that the method of signaling now related to heart, and same thing goes for, tumors and all other things. And in 1998, this was already established. So when we talk about diet, when we do all the processed food, we are even going away and away. So where we get more nitric oxide naturally in our body, things like raw vegetables, green leafy vegetables, fruit, sprouts, little in grain, nuts. So you should have minimum grain, eat grain, whether it's wheat, ragi, or whatever, but it's not that that becomes your 50, 60 portion of your diet. In fact, 50% should be raw vegetables like salad and some green vegetables, leafy vegetables, and fruits. This should be half of your diet. And the rest half, a big portion, comes other raw vegetables. Of course, you can have cooked food also, like we do in the normal house to house. So that's another 30%. So you can say roughly 80% is all this. In the remaining 20%, you include your sprouts, grain, and other things. But fruits, you can say 1/3. You can say 1/3 just to keep it simple. Raw greens, salad, vegetables, and other things like, you have carrots, you have all kinds of beetroot, cucumber, you have green leafy vegetables, all kinds, whether it's spinach, whether it is kale, whether it is whatever you like. And as per season and region. So eat seasonally and regionally. And of course, there are other vegetables that you can have. And then, okay, you can steam, boil, cook, whichever way. But this should be a majority. But what happens majority of our food, for taste, okay, if you're eating pizza a day, but if you are eating multiple times in a week, you imagine what's happening. If you're eating from, takeout, we are busy. We just bring the food from outside. And worse is we say, okay, we are busy, so you take processed food means, okay, I will just microwave, I will just reheat, and it's a packed food, whether at home or work, and we eat those processed food, whether it's muffins, whether it's crackers, all kinds of things. Again, we understand in a situation that we all are in today, follow the middle path. That means minimize them in your diet. And this is already, you can see from this, the Nobel Prize 1988, I'm referring to about nitric oxide. Yes, sometimes people say, oh, fruits, I already have sugar, those kind of confusion does arise. Yes, they have fructose, but again, there is a time for everything. So keep it in the morning time, around noon, 10 to 12 or whatever it is. Yeah, not in the night. Avoid fruits in the night. That's certainly, I would say. Now, has this really worked? Many people that personally that I either I know, met them, and not just on experiments on me, but yes, just changing the diet have lowered the diabetic condition right away. Taking medicines every day to just coming down to prebiotic condition. And this can happen, in weeks, couple of weeks to couple of months, easily, depending on, how much you do, how you do. Switch to quinoa, switch to, whatever you like in that one. Yes, people eat oat, people eat quinoa, people eat different. What works for you includes your, the seeds in your diet, whether it's flax, whether it's pumpkin seeds, walnut, dates, sesame seeds. Those are the things that will give you proper protein, fat, and carbs combined. But don't just stay with carbs. It's a lot of sugar. So sugar is not just the sugar, but the carbs has a lot of sugar too. We have already had a session on sugar, which we have talked about. So the anything which is white sugar, white salt, this is processed. This is all to be avoided. Just diet will help, but of course, when you work on your thoughts, you have to find out, in your case, what are the ones that is impacting you. And in this particular case, yes, within weeks. And whatever green, vegetables you like, beetroot, citrus fruits, oranges, grapefruit, or, those kind of things. Very good in nitric oxide. Even watermelon, pomegranate, those are the fruits which are high in nitric oxide. They will naturally help you. And you get from the fruits directly. So be with the nature, follow the Panchbhutas as much as possible, if not daily, weekly basis at least. Follow the circadian rhythm. Shift your timing a little bit here, there, and then the diet. Along with meditation, you do just these little minor things, and you will see a huge change. So, Master, this was what we can do all about, the diabetic condition that you may have.